Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from ISF 2204 ICT for Islamic Financial Institutions, Fatin Amira binti ABDUL RASHID and SYAFIQAH binti MOHAMAD ASRI. And in this video, we will be presenting about blockchain, payment rail, remittance. So first is the introduction of blockchain, payment rail, remittance. So a payment rail remittance blockchain is a blockchain that allows consumers to send money across borders. So historically, when people want to send money across borders, they have to meet a remittance agent, pay fees, and wait for 5 to 7 days before the money is transferred or sent to the receiver. However, due to the digitalization of banking, remittance is now easier, and people can transfer money across borders with only one click. So for example, remittance teller is basically accessible everywhere. For example, at convenience store, so people only need to go to the nearest convenience store and buy and transfer and exchange cash into digital cash backed by digital currency and transfer it to the receiver's wallet. So this diagram is an example of remittance blockchain. So in this blockchain, there are 4 parties, which is the sender, recipient, the buyer and the seller. So first, the buyer and the seller have to register themselves at the ABRA teller, and when the sender come to the seller to transfer money to the recipient, the sender will have to exchange money, and in exchange, the seller will give the sender digital currency, and the digital currency will be used to transfer to the recipient, and the recipient will cash out the digital currency into a real money through the buyer. The next part is the use case analysis. So under this use case analysis, there are 8 questions that need to be answered. So we will see one by one if blockchain are being applied in the payment remittance. So the first question is, does it replace a centralized system or institution? And the answer is yes. So with blockchain, the process of remittance will no longer needed to be centralized. So a decentralized remittance process is safer and can reach the receiver faster than a centralized remittance, and it also doesn't need to go through many parties as before, and it only needs a few parties, and it is safer that way. And the second question is, does it require inherent irreversibility or immutability? And the answer is yes. So the process only needs few intermediate links, and increasing its transaction speed and also making it safer. So the next question is it handling objects of value? So the answer is yes. Remittance handle cross-border money transfer, and with blockchain, the currency used is usually digital currency backed. The next question is, are there multiple writers to a shared repository? So the answer is yes. So the repository for remittance involves a very large number of users that use the system to do cross-border money transfer. And the next question is, it targets an ecosystem rather than a few parties? And the answer is yes. The process requires the cooperation among payment service providers to create interoperable blockchains. Next question is, the level of mistrust exists between entities that generate transactions? And the answer is yes. Any remittance transaction should be encrypted and private, and only the owner of the information should be able to access it. However, a level of mistrust still exists as technology can be hacked or manipulated. The next question is, do transactions depend or interact with each other? And the answer is yes. Just like traditional remittance, the process requires approval from several parties before the money can arrive to the receiver, albeit being faster than the traditional one. So blockchain remittance is definitely faster than a traditional one, but it still needs approval because the money will be transferred across borders, and it requires approvals from the regulatory bodies such as central bank and the local bank that operate the money. And the last question is, does it contribute value to the business or process? So the answer is yes. This payment rail system is faster, more secure and more transparent than the traditional remittance. So by using blockchain, the process cannot be manipulated, and also there are no risks of the money not arriving to the recipient or whatsoever, which is often a common case for the traditional remittance. For the next part is the blockchain technology stack. So the first stack is the protocol layer. So the protocol layer is the encoded computational algorithm or set of rules. So the network participants come to the collective agreement on the validity and chronological order of the information pieces. So the protocol layer made of hashed and encrypted transaction. It excludes any middleman, central agencies or correspondence from the payment processing, and it also serves as the main source of information for any regulatory or compliance or investigation purposes.
Okay, now we will continue with the next layer, which is network layer. So it is also known as peer-to-peer network. So in this layer, it is responsible for the internet communication, which means it provides transactional communication between the coordinator and the secondary nodes, and it also acts as a transportation medium and interface for the peer-to-peer network, and decides how data is packetized, addressed, transmitted, routed and received, which can be considered as a middle process of transferring the money. Okay, in this layer also, it must be ensures that nodes can discover each other and communicate, propagate, synchronize with each other to maintain a valid current state of the blockchain network. And for example, some of the users such as user A, user D are connecting participants in this network layer that brings a distributed ledger to life. So this distributed ledger, indistinguishable copies of all information are shared on the blockchain. So participants independently validate information without a centralized authority. So even if one node fails, the remaining nodes will continue to operate and ensuring no disruption. Next is application layer, where the blockchain meets the user. So this is like the end of the application. So it acts in this application layer as the user interface that combines business logic and customer interactions. So basically in this layer, it is used by the end users to interact with the blockchain network. Okay, so for example, user B wants to withdraw the money sent by the user A using some applicable apps provided by the developers. So at this point, the presentation layer for the enterprise software and consumer applications are very important. So as a conclusion, blockchain remove multiple intermediaries that participate in traditional cross-border money transfers. So money is transferred directly via blockchain from bank A to bank B, eliminating the need to go through two other correspondent banks and reducing the time and cost of the transaction. Next, blockchain also simplifies the KYC, which is know your client, regulatory requirements by storing the client's details once on the blockchain, where the information can be stored, retrieved and accessed whenever needed, and eliminating duplication. For example, IFRAS is a Singapore-registered global blockchain financial technology company that enables peer-to-peer transfers using Ethereum-based tokens called stablecoins. So the company says that its solution allows transaction settlements to take place 25 times faster than traditional international money transfers at virtually zero cost. So lastly, increased efficiency. So due to its decentralized nature, blockchain remove the need for middlemen in many processes for fields such as payments and real estate. So in comparison to traditional financial services, blockchain facilitates faster transactions by allowing P2P, which is peer-to-peer cross-border transfers with a digital currency. So property management processes are made more efficient with a unified system of ownership records and smart contracts that will automate tenant and landlord agreements. Okay, so that's all from our group. Thank you.